The Prestige, 2006. 20 Weird Facts You Didn't Know. There are films that don't simply tell a story, they turn the audience into part of the illusion. The Prestige, 2006, directed by Christopher Nolan, is one of those rare creations. It isn't just a tale about rival magicians in the late 19th century, it's a 2-hour performance where every frame is constructed like a sleight of hand. Viewers believe they've uncovered the truth, only to realize that each clue is nothing more than smoke and mirrors hiding something far greater. Nolan didn't just stage the battle between Robert Angier and Alfred Borden, two magicians willing to sacrifice everything for supremacy. He also laid a trap for the audience itself. Through camera angles, editing rhythms, and deliberate silences, Nolan mirrors the very structure of a magic trick: the pledge, the turn, and the prestige. With The Prestige, Nolan forces us into a grand theatrical illusion, blurring the line between reality and deception. And within this fog of mystery lie 20 strange, hidden truths, secrets, embedded in the film that even its most devoted fans may have overlooked. Fact number 1. The disguised magic of editing. Christopher Nolan structured The Prestige itself like a magic trick. The editing is deliberately paced to follow the 3 stages of illusion: the pledge, the turn, and the prestige. Every cut hides something in plain sight, luring the audience into focusing on the wrong detail. For example, scenes with Alfred Borden are often arranged to create the illusion of inconsistency in his behavior. One moment he seems deeply in love with his wife. The next he appears cold and detached. This wasn't a flaw in the script, it was an editorial choice meant to embody the twin secret without revealing it. The viewer feels the shift but doesn't yet know why, just as in a stage trick. Even the flashback structure is crafted as a sleight of hand. We watch Angier reading Borden's diary, only to realize the diary itself was a trap. The entire film is constructed to misdirect, ensuring that when the final reveal arrives, it feels both shocking and inevitable. Fact number 2. Christian Bale guarded the twin secret. Few actors commit to secrecy as fiercely as Christian Bale did for The Prestige. Nolan instructed him not to share the twin twist with anyone, not even co-stars. Michael Caine admitted in an interview that he spent weeks confused by Bale's inconsistent performances, unsure if they were mistakes or intentional. Even Hugh Jackman, who spent nearly every scene opposite him, was kept in the dark about the full reveal until late in production. Bale reportedly carried this secrecy into his personal life during filming, refusing to break character outside the set. He alternated mannerisms, subtly changing the way he held objects, his tone of voice, even his walk. By doing this, Bale ensured that the audience felt the presence of 2 men in one body, without consciously noticing it. The secrecy didn't just protect the twist, it made the illusion real, turning the performance into its own form of magic. Fact number 3. Nikola Tesla's machine was based on real designs. One of the most mesmerizing elements in The Prestige is Nikola Tesla's mysterious machine, built to transport or duplicate objects. While the story pushes this idea into the realm of science fiction, the actual design of the device was inspired by Tesla's real-life experiments. Nolan instructed the production team to study Tesla's patents, particularly his work on resonant coils and wireless energy transmission. The glowing arcs of electricity, the humming vibrations, and the dramatic coils weren't pure Hollywood fantasy, they echoed Tesla's genuine laboratory aesthetics. David Bowie, who portrayed Tesla, insisted on grounding his performance in the real eccentricities of the inventor, studying archival photos and writings. As a result, the machine became more than just a prop. It was a character of its own, a physical embodiment of scientific wonder twisted into obsession. The line between reality and myth blurred, making Tesla's machine feel like it could have truly existed, hidden away in some forgotten lab. Fact number 4. The birdcage trick's dark echo. Early in the film, a magician demonstrates the classic birdcage trick, collapsing a cage in his hands to make the bird disappear. It plays as a light-hearted illusion until Nolan twists it into something darker. Later, Borden repeats the trick for his daughter, but the scene is tinged with unease, reminding us that behind every illusion lies a hidden cost. In fact, the production team used both real and mechanical birds to achieve the shot. The unsettling implication that one bird survives while another does not mirrors the central theme of sacrifice. Nolan placed this moment deliberately, as foreshadowing of the devastating choices Angier and Borden would make. For audiences who noticed the parallel, the innocent trick became a chilling metaphor. Every prestige demands a victim. Fact number 5. Hugh Jackman drew on his stage roots. Hugh Jackman's performance as Robert Angier carried the gravitas of a seasoned showman. And it wasn't by accident. Before Hollywood knew him as Wolverine, Jackman had a background in stage musicals and theater. Nolan encouraged him to lean into this theatrical presence, using his natural charisma to sell Angier's desperation to outshine Borden. Jackman studied real Victorian-era magicians, watching archival footage of illusionists like Harry Keller and Houdini to capture their dramatic flourishes. His bow, his gestures with the top hat, even the way he acknowledged applause, were carefully rehearsed to feel authentic. Interestingly, Nolan filmed many of Angier's stage scenes in front of live extras, instructing them to react as a real audience. This gave Jackman the energy of performing to a crowd, blurring the line between actor and showman. His obsession felt real, because he was truly playing to impress not just the camera, but the people in the room. Fact number 6. The real journal was a trap. One of the film's most ingenious devices is Borden's diary, which Angier steals and obsessively deciphers. What seems like a genuine key to unlocking his rival's secrets turns out to be a deliberate misdirection. Nolan mirrored this trick in the filmmaking itself. The diary prop contained real passages written specifically to guide Jackman's performance, but many were intentionally misleading. Only Nolan, Bale, and a few writers knew which entries were true to the twin twist. Jackman was told to treat every revelation as fact, fueling Angier's growing obsession. In a way, the diary wasn't just a prop, it was a performance tool, designed to manipulate even the actor playing the role. This layering of deception, where both character and actor are ensnared, perfectly embodies the spirit of the Prestige. Secrets hidden inside secrets, illusions within illusions, until no one can be certain where the truth really lies. Fact number 7. Michael Caine as the voice of truth. Christopher Nolan often relies on Michael Caine as a grounding presence in his films, and in The Prestige he plays Cutter, the engineer who designs illusions. Unlike the two rival magicians, Cutter isn't consumed by obsession. He understands the cost of magic and speaks with a kind of weary wisdom. Interestingly, Nolan wrote the part specifically for Caine, describing him as the voice of absolute truth. On set, Caine reportedly kept things practical, advising younger actors to focus less on the puzzle and more on the emotions. This mirrors his character perfectly, a man who sees through the tricks but still respects the craft. Even his opening monologue, explaining the 3 parts of a magic trick, wasn't just exposition. Nolan designed it so that Cutter's words would echo in the audience's mind long after the film ended, serving as both instruction and warning. Every illusion comes at a price. Fact number 8. The fatal obsession with authenticity. Nolan's commitment to authenticity pushed the cast and crew into uncomfortable territory. For scenes involving stage illusions, real methods were used whenever possible instead of digital effects. The vanishing birdcage, the disappearing assistant, even the misdirection with doubles, all were filmed practically, just as a Victorian magician would perform them. This meant the actors had to learn genuine sleight-of-hand techniques, rehearsing until movements became second nature. Christian Bale spent weeks practicing knot tying and coin vanishes, while Hugh Jackman learned how to hold a crowd's attention with subtle gestures. Nolan believed that even if the camera didn't capture every detail, the audience would sense the authenticity. That dedication also carried risk. Certain tricks required careful timing with heavy equipment, meaning any mistake could be dangerous. In chasing cinematic magic, the production mirrored the very obsession of its characters, sacrificing comfort, even safety, to achieve the impossible. Fact number 9. The twin reveal was hidden in plain sight. One of the greatest cinematic twists of the 2002, the revelation that Borden was actually 2 men, wasn't just a late surprise. Nolan planted the truth in plain sight from the very beginning. Dialogue like, "You're not the same man I married," or "Some days you love me, some days you don't," wasn't metaphorical, it was literal. The costume and makeup departments also created subtle inconsistencies. Borden's beard length sometimes shifted between scenes, or his injured fingers appeared to heal faster than possible. Audiences dismissed these as continuity errors, but they were deliberate clues. Even more audaciously, the script itself foreshadowed the reveal in Cutter's opening explanation of a magic trick. You see something ordinary, then something extraordinary, and finally, you look for the secret, but you don't really want to know it. In the end, the truth was always right in front of us. Fact number 10. David Bowie almost refused the role. When Christopher Nolan set out to cast Nikola Tesla, he knew the role demanded someone enigmatic, an icon who embodied both genius and myth. His first and only choice was David Bowie. At first, Bowie declined. He had stepped back from acting and wasn't interested in returning for what he assumed would be a minor role. Nolan refused to take no for an answer. He personally flew to meet Bowie, explaining that Tesla wasn't just a side character, he was the soul of the film's mystery, the magician's magician. Bowie was intrigued by the parallels between Tesla and his own stage persona. Both men lived at the edge of science and art. Both carried an aura of otherworldliness. Eventually, Bowie agreed, bringing a quiet intensity that elevated the character. His performance turned Tesla into a haunting presence, someone who seemed both real and unreal at once. Fact number 11. Real locations, not sets. Instead of relying on sound stages, Nolan insisted on shooting much of the prestige in authentic Victorian-era locations. The theaters, cobblestone streets, and backstage corridors weren't just recreations, they were real historical spaces. Several stage performances were filmed in old theaters in Los Angeles and London, some of which had barely changed since the 1802nd. The Tesla scenes were filmed in Colorado, capturing the rugged landscapes where the real inventor had once worked. Production designer Nathan Crowley explained that Nolan wanted the environment itself to feel like a character imposing, mysterious, and textured with history. This decision gave the film a tangible atmosphere, immersing the audience in a world that felt authentic rather than constructed. Every creak of a floorboard and every worn velvet curtain whispered of the ghosts of past performances. Fact number 12. The disappearing tank trick was dangerous. One of the most harrowing illusions in the film is Angier's water tank trick, where an assistant risks drowning if the escape goes wrong. Nolan wanted the sequence to feel terrifyingly real, so he avoided CGI. A real tank was constructed, filled, and used on set with actors and stunt doubles inside. Safety divers were positioned nearby, but the claustrophobic fear was genuine. Rebecca Hall, who played Sarah, later admitted that just watching the stunt rehearsals made her anxious. Hugh Jackman himself performed several shots inside the tank, holding his breath as cameras rolled. The danger heightened the authenticity. The audience could sense that this wasn't just a cinematic effect. It mirrored the larger theme of the story. The pursuit of greatness always comes with peril, and every act of magic carries the shadow of tragedy. Fact number 13. Nolan used silence as a weapon. Most directors rely on music to heighten tension, but Christopher Nolan often strips sound away. In The Prestige, silence becomes a form of manipulation, a gap that forces the audience to lean in closer. Key moments like Angier discovering Borden's knot, or the dreadful stillness before a trick goes wrong, are deliberately left without score. Composer David Julian created a haunting, minimal soundtrack, but Nolan used it sparingly, letting silence carry as much weight as music. This decision mirrors the nature of magic itself, the pause before the reveal, the breath held before the impossible happens. By withholding sound, Nolan makes the audience complicit in the trick, straining to hear what isn't there. The silence becomes its own kind of misdirection, reminding viewers that the most powerful illusions are often the quietest. Fact number 14. The influence of real magicians. Though the story is fictional, Nolan wove the legacies of real illusionists into the film. Robert Angier's flair and showmanship echoed Harry Keller, known as the Dean of American Magicians. Borden's obsession with secrecy reflected the life of Jean-Eugène Robert Houdin, who pioneered many modern stage illusions. Even the rivalry between Angier and Borden parallels the real feud between magicians John Neville Maskelyne and Charles Bertram. The production design team researched historical props, trapdoors, collapsible cages, mirror illusions, and rebuilt them for the film. Some tricks, like the bullet catch, were lifted directly from accounts of Victorian-era performances, where magicians risked death to prove authenticity. By grounding the story in historical influences, Nolan ensured that the Prestige felt both authentic and timeless, a fictional tale standing on the shoulders of real legends. Fact number 15. The film is a mirror of Nolan's career. Many critics have argued that The Prestige is Christopher Nolan's most personal film. At its heart, the story is about obsession, deception, and the price of spectacle concepts that mirror Nolan's own relationship with filmmaking. Just as Angier sacrifices everything for the perfect illusion, Nolan pushes cinema to its limits, using structure, editing, and practical effects to astonish audiences. The film even comments on storytelling itself. The setup, the turn, and the reveal mirror the three acts of a movie. Nolan once remarked that making films is the ultimate magic trick, where an audience knows it's being deceived, but still yearns to believe. In this sense, The Prestige is a confession, a coded explanation of Nolan's craft. It's not just about magicians, it's about cinema, about the very act of watching and being fooled. Fact: Sexton. Scarlett Johansson's dual-role symbolism. Scarlett Johansson plays Olivia, Angier's assistant who becomes caught between two rivals. On the surface, she seems like a typical supporting role, but Nolan used her character as a living metaphor for divided loyalty. Just as Angier and Borden mirror each other's obsessions, Olivia mirrors the audience's own torn perspective, drawn to both men, yet unable to reconcile their destructive rivalry. Johansson prepared by studying diaries of women who worked as magicians' assistants in the Victorian era, where loyalty and secrecy often determined survival. Her costumes reinforced this duality: rich silks when standing beside Angier, plainer fabrics with Borden. She became a physical embodiment of choice and betrayal, echoing the film's larger theme that no illusion can exist without someone paying the price. Fact number 17. The bullet catch scene was rooted in reality. One of the film's most shocking moments is the bullet catch trick, where Borden performs an illusion that nearly kills him. Far from being fiction, this stunt has a bloody history. In the 19th century, several magicians attempted it. With tragic results, some were seriously injured, and others died when the trick went wrong. Nolan incorporated this real danger into the film, making the scene feel even more unnerving. Christian Bale trained with sleight-of-hand experts to ensure the handling of the gunpowder and bullet looked convincing. The tension on screen was genuine, because everyone on set knew the historical weight of the trick. By including the bullet catch, Nolan wasn't just dramatizing risk, he was reminding viewers that magic has always carried the shadow of death. Fact: 19. Cutter's opening monologue was filmed last. Michael Caine's unforgettable opening monologue explaining the three stages of a magic trick frames the entire film, but it wasn't shot at the beginning of production. Nolan deliberately left it until the end, after the entire story had been filmed. He believed Caine needed to deliver those lines with the full knowledge of how the narrative unfolded, giving the performance a layered resonance. Caine himself has said that by the time they filmed the monologue, he wasn't just describing a trick, he was describing the movie we had just experienced. This meta-choice turned the monologue into more than exposition. It became a thematic mirror, the key that unlocks the structure of the film. Nolan designed it so that when audiences revisited the movie, those opening words would suddenly feel like a confession hidden in plain sight. Fact number 19. The ending was originally even darker. The ending of The Prestige is already unsettling. Angier, surrounded by rows of drowned duplicates, his final illusion revealed as an act of self-destruction. But Nolan's early drafts were even more disturbing. In one version, Angier's obsession pushed him to create endless copies, filling warehouse after warehouse with discarded bodies. This bleak conclusion was ultimately softened, but the essence remained. Every Prestige demanded a life. Hugh Jackman later revealed that Nolan debated how much to show, balancing shock with restraint. The final choice to reveal just enough gave the ending its haunting power. Audiences left with the image of sacrifice and obsession, But Nolan knew that what we imagined beyond the frame would linger even longer than what was shown. Fact number 20. The Prestige is Nolan's favorite of his own films. Though Christopher Nolan has directed massive blockbusters like Inception and The Dark Knight, he has repeatedly expressed a special attachment to The Prestige. In interviews, he admitted it might be his most personal work, because it is literally about storytelling itself. Nolan sees filmmaking as a form of illusion, where directors like magicians ask audiences to look closely while hiding the truth in plain sight. The film's structure, its themes of sacrifice, and its fascination with obsession mirror Nolan's own creative philosophy. Even the title reflects his ambitions. Every film he makes is a prestige, an attempt to leave the audience stunned, searching for the secret while secretly hoping never to find it. For Nolan, The Prestige is more than a movie. It is his manifesto on cinema, the ultimate confession of an illusionist behind the camera. Bonus fact: the hidden cameo in plain sight. While The Prestige is remembered for its elaborate illusions and devastating twist, there is one secret that even many die-hard fans have missed: a hidden cameo buried inside the film. In one of the theater audience shots, during Angier's performance of The New Transported Man, Christopher Nolan himself briefly appears in the crowd. It is not a glamorous Hitchcock-style walk-on. Instead, he is blurred in the background, seated among the extras, an invisible observer to the spectacle. Nolan later admitted he enjoyed the irony. Directors are magicians too, hiding in plain sight, pulling strings while the audience looks elsewhere. This cameo isn't just an Easter egg, it's thematically perfect. Throughout the film, Cutter warns that people don't really want to know the secret of the trick. They want to be fooled. Nolan's presence embodies that philosophy. Even if viewers spot him, they are more likely to dismiss it as coincidence than accept that the filmmaker has literally placed himself inside the illusion. In doing so, Nolan ensures that The Prestige doesn't just tell a story about deception, it becomes one. The real magic is not Tesla's machine or Borden's secret, but the way Nolan manipulates both his characters and his audience, blurring the boundary between fiction and reality until we can no longer tell the difference. You've now uncovered the strange truths buried within The Prestige, facts hidden behind smoke, mirrors, and shadows. But like every great illusion, the secret is never the end, it's the invitation to look again. If this journey through Nolan's masterpiece has left you questioning what's real and what's performance, then the trick has already worked. Rewatch the film, and you may notice details that escaped you before, threads woven into the fabric of the story. And if you want to keep exploring the hidden worlds of cinema, remember to like, subscribe, and join us for the next revelation.